Hi everyone. Right, so this message is purely for patrons, historical and current. So I'm putting this on Patreon, and I'm going to, but also make it so it's available to everyone. So anyone who's been a previous patron, hopefully will see this, because it's even if you was a previous patron, this message is aimed at everyone basically. So I'm preparing to go off to China, as you're probably aware, and I leave on Sunday. I go for a week. I suppose the really funny thing about this is this is a journey that started in the late 80s, and I've basically come to the point now where this project is actually, I think, going to be an absolute game changer for my family. So I'm going to go a little bit into it in a minute. But the key thing here is really important. It would not have happened without the patrons, because right from the beginning, it was people. If you've done this, you probably understand this. But when you're not making money from something, the fact of having this regular, even though it's not an awful lot of money, having £300-400, £500 a month come in, allows you, or dollars, allows you to experiment with your ideas. So when it came to doing the first case, which was a hobby then, as you probably know, it was like, I'll see if I can do it. I've always wanted to do my own case. The one previously 30 years ago wasn't designed by me. I marketed it and sold it and so on, but I didn't design it. But I've always wanted to do my own one, and so I thought, well, I'll do it. But it's quite an expensive thing to do. But having that money from the patrons coming in enabled me to prototype. I mean, I'm not saying I couldn't necessarily have afforded it, and I did spend more than the money coming from patrons. But the patron money was the thing that kind of pushed me to do it. So it's very important that I make people aware of this. That this money is for all creators, not just me. It does kickstart you. So coming on to the next, but obviously then the kickstart is the real impetus. But this all started because of Patreon. And so without my backers, and there are a number that have disappeared, but who backed a lot in the early days, and I owe them an absolute debt of gratitude. And the recent ones, and I always said I'd like a lot of $1 ones, so that you don't even notice the money, and the more the merrier. But some people, went above that, which is really good. I know I've also been quiet the last 6 months. I haven't really done much because I'm totally engrossed in the monitors, and I will be for another 6 months. So of course you can see my Patreon numbers taking a bit of a dive. But it's I want people to realise that it's been. I wouldn't have got to where I am without the Patreon backers. Not because I couldn't have done it, but because it gave me the impetus to continue it and to cover costs. And so even when I went over the amount that was necessary, that having that money coming in steadily has meant I can experiment, and making a prototype of the cases, you're talking £500-600 a prototype, and then especially for the first one. Well, with the monitors, obviously there was some money from the cases, because this cost thousands, which obviously wasn't covered by patrons. But there, obviously, that money is coming from the cases, which had come initially from the patrons. Anyway, so you get I'm very grateful to all my backers that have helped, and I'm off to what's probably going to be a key week in this project. So because I'm meeting the key manufacturers out there, and it's kind of get boots on the ground, build up relationships, because I'm hoping this is going to going forward is going to be a big deal, this monitor. As you probably know, we sold 1,500. I know we will sell 2,000 instantly from people who've said they want a second one, and I've got a lot of people on the waiting list. So we're ordering 2,000 monitors. But I feel we're going to sell. My gut feeling was 5 to 10,000 is the target. But I've been, other people who've mentioned that you're going to sell a lot more than that. And so we'll see. And it may come a time when the Patreon has done its job. And then I may turn around and say I may drop one of the tiers and that kind of thing and say, well, we'll, or even I don't think I'll drop Patreon, but maybe that I maybe drop it. I don't know yet, because if the monitors are really successful, then it would seem rude to be taking monthly money, just for no reason, and then maybe say go back another project. But at the moment, of course, it's still a nice income. But I'll be honest with you, as time goes on, whether I'm going to drop that or maybe literally just make it minimum amount, just so that so I can do. I don't do a lot of this, and I know I'm guilty of this, but I just it's tricky sometimes. With this, I'm not editing this. I'm just press record and just waffle. So this will probably be titled "Waffle," me waffling. Yeah, so go to China. I'm kind of excited. On one hand, I'm 50-50, right? And I'm going to be very careful how I say this. I don't get emotional. Oh, here we go. So I'm really excited to go to China. I've always wanted to go to China, and I'm always been impressed with the Chinese people and their professionalism. Yes, some products are rubbish, but most of the things you take for granted are made in China by Chinese people supporting their families. So I'm looking forward to being boots on the ground and meeting a whole load of them. They're being really open. Yes, I'm going to spend money, obviously, but they're being very nice. They've always been supportive. But it means also, so I've got that bonus, and I'm going to see the Shenzhen Tech District, which I'm really looking forward to. But I've got to leave my little boy and my wife at home and my family. It's only a week. I get that. But people say, but if you've got I've got a little 4-year-old. I've obviously got a 32-year-old and a 30-year-old daughter as well. But it's still a wrench. And now the reason for it being a wrench is in the past I did a lot of trips and so I was away quite a lot, and I didn't want to get back into doing that. But I have, so that's a bit of a wrench. So now going forward, my gut feeling is this monitor is going to be a success. It's going to lead into, now I've already mentioned this, but it's going to lead into hopefully a plug-in FPGA based, PyStorm based Amiga inside the monitor. And that's going to be, to me, a bit of a big deal. 68K based. I think that's going to be, I personally think it's going to be a pretty spectacular bit of kit. I know I'm biased, but if you know anything about the Mini MIG, we're having a custom one made, and assuming that Renko does manage to deliver it, hopefully in the October show. He said he's got everything he needs now. Hopefully he's got enough time to make it. But if he does, it's basically the Amiga chipset with a PyStorm. It's going to rock. Built into a monitor. Now, with that comes something. Now, one of the things I'm going to be doing out there is I have been waiting for a long time for mechanical Amiga keyboards. And I know that they are coming, but I'm covering my bases because I've always wanted a Amiga 2000/3000/4000 external keyboard, brand new, but with cherry switches, like my one here with Amiga keyboard with cherry switches. And so I'm going out there to see if we can reproduce one. And if that's possible, then that will be the keyboard that I will, if I do a complete Amiga system in the monitor, so an all-in-one, it'll have that keyboard. On mice, probably going to be looking at the the Tank Mouse, but obviously the price is a little bit high, but it's completely understandably. So, but we may look into seeing something about that. So that's a bit of an unknown at the moment. If anyone knows, I just like the idea of doing one of these. But yeah. But yeah, the keyboard is more of a big deal. And the plan now, just for anyone getting excited about this potential keyboard, now because of course I would be kickstarting that because it would need to sell quite a lot, and because we'll be making tooling to make the case and everything if we do it. But the first thing is the keyboard mechanism. Get one made. It may just fall flat in its face. I don't expect too much until I actually announce anything like this. I'm pre-warning you, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But if it does happen and it's good enough what I want, then it would become hopefully, because it'll be USB keyboard with proper cherry switches, and it will have, but this is the sticking point for me. It has to be PS2 compliant. Now, if it's PS2 compliant, that means you can run it on most devices, converters for the 2000, 3000, 4000. So it might also reduce the cost of the older keyboards. But if you can get a new one that you can plug into your Amiga, which is hopefully is the idea, and it looks the same, then that would be quite good. And of course, I am aware before anyone jumps up and says, you do know that you can take that keyboard out and put it in a 500 and a 1200. They can't. Potentially a 500 there is, maybe, but they're not quite the same board. They're slightly different board. I know it looks the same, so it might not be as straightforward as all that, but I am aware of this, and so that's what I'll be looking at. That's one of the companies I'll be visiting, but again, pipe dream at the moment, nothing more. So we'll see what happens with that. When I come back, I'll do a little video. I might even do something out there. I might take some videos and put it all together into. But I'm rubbish at this kind of thing. I'm better like this. Just turn the camera on, start waffling. But yeah. So what else? Yeah. I'm going. I'll be away for a week. When I come back, I'll do. I'll update everyone and go through it. But I think, yes, I've told all my backers that we are probably going to run late. I mean, because of the scope of the project, I was able to do a lot more and use some of Appy's improvements, which was the backplane basically, and a number of other things. So the cabling system would have worked great. The standard would have worked absolutely fine. We didn't need anything else apart from GBS, and even that we had kind of covered. So the original concept would have worked. It's just been more cables. But by now doing this backplane, it's going to make it a lot more clonk, screw in, done. Another board, clonk, screw in, done, which is going to be good. So it's made it a better product, but it's a more complex product. But it's complex for us, but simple for you, or simple for the purchaser. But I hope it's going to be. I'm not expecting it to be like massive, but I've never seen anything like it, and so I think it's, fingers crossed, will do well. And I think it's the kind of thing when you read the old iMacs, which were absolutely wonderful. Obviously, I was inspired by that kind of thing, but they were closed off, couldn't do anything with it. You bought it, you used it, and that was the end of it. Whereas this is, you'll be able to expand on its functionalities and that whole thing. So I think it's got great potential, but we'll see. And hopefully I'll be able to get a keyboard sorted out, which would be fantastic. That's the one. I mean, I know I'm gonna see everything, the monitor, and I'm going to get the chassis, double check everything, sign it all off. We've got packaging, we've got lovely molded. We're doing molded into this time. We're not doing cardboard internals. Sorry. I want to protect these monitors, so we've got molded compression foam that's going inside. It's been with molding, so that's good. That's looking really good, and so we're going to get that all signed off while I'm away. Yeah, so more to come soon. But again, if you're a backer now, thank you. If you've been a long-term backer, even more of a thank you. Again, it's not about the amount. It never has been with me. It's more about the consistency, because I see them drop out, drop in. I've even had people, like, when it comes to pay, they drop out. It's quite funny to watch, but that's very rare. But it is been a really useful source of income, and wouldn't have got to where I am. This project would not be where it is today. And as I said, going forward, it may be, if the monitors actually do really well, it may be that I pull the Patreon. Not so much. I don't know. I mean, I'll definitely, if it's a success, I'll drop the $5 one and just have the $1 one, purely from just be on there and get some of this background. But anyway, if you liked this video and you want more of it, then happy to do it. Time allowing. But apart from that, again, thanks so much, and I'll let you know how I get on when I come back. And then I'm going to try and make it look very professional, because I'm not going to edit this, and then press that stop recording button. So thanks so much, and I'll see you after the trip.